Hello everyone, I hope you're fine. How is the holiday? I hope you're being safe. This is Nangoma Druscilla, a teacher at Trinity College Nabingo. I'm going to take you through history. And our topic for today is going to be the long distance trade in East Africa. If you want more details or more consultation, a special program, please my contacts are given below. Then I think we should get started. What was the long distance trade? Long distance trade was also known as pre-colonial trade. It was called pre-colonial because it took place before the coming of the Europeans into East Africa. Another name for long distance trade was the caravan trade. Why was it called long distance trade? It was called long distance trade because it involved traveling long distances from the interior to the coast. This trade took place between the interior tribes of East Africa who exchanged goods with the coastal tribes. And the coastal tribes, here we had the Arabs, the Swahili, alongside other foreigners like the Indians and the Europeans at the coast. Whereas the interior tribes included the Akamba, the Yawo, the Nyamwezi, the Baganda, the Banyoro. The Nyamwezi are found in central Tanzania. The Akamba are found in Kenya and the Yawo are found in southern Tanzania. Now, we are going to look at why do you think this trade developed. One of the reasons why the trade developed was because of the decline of the Indian Ocean trade. When the goods at the coast got scarce, it forced the foreigners, the Arabs at the coast to enter the interior to look for more goods that were highly demanded. So let's get straight to the factors. One of them was the increased demand for European or for the manufactured goods by the Africans. Please take note. The Africans, the interior tribes of East Africa, highly demanded for goods. And with these goods, we talk about things like the guns, the gunpowder, the glassware, the Persian rugs, all those foreign manufactured goods, especially kings like Mutesa. He really wanted the guns to defeat his long-term enemy, the Banyoro. So these goods also, the demand kept increasing and that boosted the trade. Another factor for the growth of this trade was the introduction of cowrie shells. The way you use money to transact businesses. These people are not using money, but instead they were using cowrie shells. I'll get you an example and diagram of how these cowrie shells looked like. These were the ones that were being exchanged. It was the mode of the monetary value to them. So the presence of cowrie shells that were highly supplied by the Arabs also boosted the trade. Then the abolition of slave trade in West Africa made all these foreigners leave West Africa to come to East Africa as an alternative area where they could get slaves. Upon coming to East Africa, they found the Africans ready and willing to offer slave labor. So the abolition of slave trade in West Africa made them come to East Africa as an alternative area to get the slave labor. And this boosted the long distance trade. Then the hospitality of the interior tribes. Interior tribes, we've seen time and again, they would welcome the Europeans. They would kneel, offer their most fertile land, offer all their beautiful belongings to the white man. Even during the long distance trade, the interior tribes were excited after seeing the foreigners penetrating their areas. And this encouraged the foreigners to keep coming to the interior to get the most demanded goods, and this boosted the trade. Another factor is the existence of safe trade routes. Now, during this trade, we had three major routes. We had the northern route, the central route, and the southern route. The northern route was controlled by the Akamba, running from Mombasa through Taita Hills and then reaching as far as Lake Victoria. It would connect with the Karatumas in South Sudan. So that route was controlled by the Akamba, sorry. Then you had the central route running from Bagamoyo through Tabora and then through Ujiji. So at Ujiji, it split into two, one heading to southern Uganda, then the other going as far as Burundi. And this was the busiest route controlled by the Nyamwezi. Then we had another route, and that was the southern route, controlled by the Yao, going as far as Monomotapa Kingdom to get gold. Now, these trade routes were kept safe by the interior tribes. The Yao, the Akamba, the Nyamwezi ensured that these trade routes were safe by offering security. They were the ones moving alongside the traders to offer security. Another factor for the growth of this trade was the increased penetration of the interior by the coastal people. We said at the coast, the goods that were highly demanded got exhausted. So they decided to penetrate the interior, and they kept coming. What was initially the Arabs, we see Indians coming in, we see the Swahili people entering. So their population, the rate of entering the interior had increased, and not only just to come and tour, but to participate in the trade, and that boosted its growth. Then the improved transport. In this trade, the mode of transport was basically walking long distances from the interior, say from Ujiji through Tabora up to Bagamoyo. That is a very long distance. So when the traders did, the foreigners especially, they started using donkeys. It made the journey less tiresome, less hectic, and it even made it very easier to move. The distances quite became shorter. Would reach the coast earlier or easily minus walking. So the improved transport from footing and from using of porters. Porters were these Africans carrying the goods on their heads, walking from the different centers. Centers like Ujiji, Bagamoyo, Tabora, walking with the goods on their heads up to the coast. That was quite a long journey. But with the introduction of donkeys, more foreigners came in to participate in the trade. Another factor for the growth of this trade was the scarcity of some trade items near the coast. When I talk of trade items at the coast, these are the costs the items that were brought by the Africans at the coast. And these ones, we are going to call them our exports. Africans brought goods to the coast, such as the slaves, the ivory. The ivory was got through hunting down elephants. Then you've seen the gold that was got from Monomotapa Kingdom. Then the copper, salt, all these commodities became scarce. So Arabs resorted to entering the interior to look for more goods. And this is how the long distance trade developed. So they had to move long distances from the coast to the interior to look for the scarce commodities. Then another factor is the increased demand for interior goods by the coastal people. Earlier we said there was increased demand for the coastal goods by the interior people. We looked at that one earlier. So now another point in relation to that is the increased demand for the interior goods by the coastal people. Don't you think if perhaps these Arabs brought their goods to the interior tribes and the interior people rejected the goods, maybe the trade wouldn't have developed? But the interior people would bring their goods to the coast, and the coastal people would wholeheartedly welcome the interior people. So that increased demand for the interior goods, they really wanted the gold, they wanted the ivory, they wanted the salt. So That increased demand, it was a double coincidence of wants, where the Africans would offer what the Arabs wanted, and that boosted the trade. Another factor is the development of Kiswahili as a language of communication. Please take note, we are not going to talk of Swahili. Swahili is not a language. The language is Kiswahili. So this was the trade language. This was the language they would use to negotiate. And those that did not know, you'd be wondering, how were the Indians communicating? Had they learned the Kiswahili? No. But the Swahili people that were at the coast had acquired this language through the Quranic schools. Even some Africans had acquired the language still through attending the Quranic schools. So we had a group of interpreters that would interpret the language to the traders, and that eased communication and it made trade transactions easy, hence boosting the trade. Another factor was the presence of Indian merchants. When I talk of a merchant, you could be wondering, let's call them Indians. These were financial, or these were businessmen that came to the coast basically to trade. Now, these businessmen from India would offer loans to the Arabs, loans to the Africans. They would offer financial advice. They would collect the taxes. So there was continuous flow of money on the side of the traders. So this money in most cases would be given by the Indians. So they offered money, they acted as money lenders. So Arabs would always have what to give the Africans to get the goods that they were interested in, and that boosted the trade. Another factor was the rise of prominent traders. These traders went from Africans, the African leaders and kings, to the Arabs, to the Swahili. And among the African traders we had Mirambo of the Nyamwezi. We had Kabaka Mutesa I. Then we had Tipu Tipu. Tipu Tipu was an Arab at Ujiji. So these prominent leaders, these leaders were the ones that were in charge of organizing the trade caravans. We said caravans were the groups of men moving in groups of 100 to 1,000 men carrying commodities on their heads. So what was the role of these prominent traders? They would be the ones to look out for where are the most demanded goods. If, for example, Mutesa wanted to get salt, if Mirambo wanted to get salt from Buganda, he knew he would go to Mutesa. If Tipu Tipu was looking for slaves, he knew Mirambo would be of help. So these different African traders, these Arab traders, played a big role in the development of the trade. It made the goods readily available at any time. Then another one was the settlement of Said at the coast. By 1832, when Said took over the Cape, or the coast, he established very large cloth plantations, which cloth plantations needed slave labor. So his settlement at the coast necessitated the demand for slave labor, which labor could only be got from the interior. Maybe to add on that as well, when Said settled at the coast, he's the one that kept encouraging more Arabs to enter the interior. He really encouraged them that the interior is safe. He had the contacts. He had made friendships with the African traditional leaders. So he would encourage, in fact, most of these people that were coming from the coast would carry the Sultan's flag, Sultan Said's flag. And that is how they would survive the taxes, because these African chiefs would tax these moving traders. So in case you had Said's map or flag, you would not be taxed. So he encouraged them to move to the interior by giving them the flag. Another factor was the profitability of the trade. Who wouldn't want to participate in a very profitable trade? I mean, you're exchanging a gun for gold. You're exchanging a Persian rug for copper. So the trade was very profitable. You're exchanging an entire human being for a mirror. So such things made the trade very profitable, and it encouraged more foreigners to come in and participate in the trade. Then the existence of natural calamities like drought, famine, especially among the interior tribes. Interior tribes had that problem. So to run away from the drought, they would go and participate in the trade. So the trade did not lack any participants, and that is how it continuously kept moving. Another factor, you can maybe look it out on your research, but to sum it up, the reasons for the growth of this trade were political, social, and economic. You can Google more for more because the information is there available. Please keep safe, stay home. May God bless you. Thank you so much for listening.